to another episode of Quarantined Coaches. I'm your host, J. Rudd Scout. Today we are in DC at George Washington University with Coach Rick Oliveri. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great, Josh. How about yourself?
I am hanging in there. So GW is in Washington, DC. What is that campus setup like? I'd imagine it's got to be kind of crazy up there. Does it have a college feel to it?
Yes, it does. It's just different and unique in our own way. The city can scare some people away, but it does have a college feel. The campus is 4 by 5 city blocks right in downtown DC in the Monument District. Definitely doesn't have that traditional college feel like you might see in the movies with people out on blankets in the quad. But there are a lot of parts of our campus that are similar to that traditional campus, like common areas and the buzz of students when classes are in session. Traditional campuses, they have a lot of green areas, long walkways between buildings, service roads, parking lots, what have you. Our walkways and service roads just happen to be between 23rd and G and 19th and I in Foggy Bottom. And our green spaces are buildings with rooftops and rooftop lounges or courtyards. It has its unique features, but our kids still get the traditional campus feel in a lot of ways.
So what would be, in your opinion, because I think that's one of the things that kids should really lock in on is what kind of campus setting they would be happy in. What is one of the things in your opinion that, makes a city campus setting, better than the traditional setting?
Well, I think our city setting is similar to others in one way in that, most city campuses afford their students with much more relevant professional opportunities, and they're available earlier just because of the proximity to offices, to jobs, to recruiters, to all that kind of thing. Most of our rising seniors have their post-graduation jobs lined up before they start their senior year. And a lot of them come from internships that they get involved with after their sophomore or junior summers. Whatever path you choose, when we have doctors, lawyers, engineers, businessmen, and the like on our team, they can find those internship opportunities that in turn lead to locking up a competitive career early on. More specifically, at GW, our baseball players have a different social profile than the traditional campus students. There's different opportunities. Among all the things college kids do on their free time, same with our guys. The difference is our guys can jump on a train or get in an Uber to go see the Nats, the Wizards, Caps. All those are within 2-3 miles of campus. Within blocks of the university and walking distance or via scooter is the White House, the National Mall with a dozen or more free museums, and all the historic national monuments. So during free time, there's always something to do or go see. We even do a lot of our team conditioning down by the monuments, including a scavenger hunt competition we did as part of our team challenge at the end of the fall. It was a lot of fun.
I like that. I hear that a lot from guys in city campuses about how their players are able to take advantage of the professional sports teams that are in town, and that the players really love that because obviously they're athletes themselves. You're the pitching coach. Moving into that, last year I know you and I talked about it over the summer. The staff didn't perform as you would have liked. Did you as a coach, do any sort of self-reflection and change what, your approach? Because this year, unfortunately we got cut short, but there was a noticeable difference and your guys were really firing out there.
Yeah, I appreciate you bringing that up and noticing that. Absolutely, did some self-reflecting. I've watched most, if not all, the videos you posted on here with really good coaches, and one of the common themes that you hear is that if you're not learning, you're going to be passed by. And I've always believed in that. The main approach that changed for us from last year to this year is that we put more emphasis on the staff being a unit and being held accountable to the standards of the group, down to the smallest of details, how we warmed up, how we played catch, how we did our dry work, PFPs, et cetera, the whole thing. So that was the main thing, I would say, the main thing and when I did that self-reflection, that we realized we needed to improve on.
And so you kind of touched on some of that there, which was going to be my next question, is what was it that you maybe learned that you took to the field, and what did it look like on the field? What were the things that were different about what your guys were doing? If you can expand on that.
Yeah, I guess what you're saying is kind of implementation. You
Right.
know, we implemented it by first redefining and simplifying our core values and emphasizing them daily in practice. So a GW pitcher knew when they came to the field every day, the most important part of his day was maximizing his catch play session. We wanted to be more consistent. We wanted to have more repeatable deliveries, so we made this a priority. Even in bullpens, we simplified things by just prioritizing throwing strikes. It sounds rudimentary and unsexy because every guy wants to get on the mound in the pen and work on their velo, dotting the corners, throwing wipeout sliders. They want to get on Rapsodo and work on spin rate, tunneling, and movement, etc. You have to be able to compete in the strike zone at our level before you graduate to that. And we made this a baseline competency. This baseline competence, we made something that the group needed to conquer together. So we created an attacking strike throwing culture first. And then once the whole staff matched our emphasis on our core values, then we were able to individualize and advance things from a bullpen concepts development standpoint.
One of the things I remember you and I talking about in the fall was a book club that you were doing with your pitchers. How does a book club help pitchers on the field?
Okay. Well, first of all, yes, we did do a book club. I got the idea from one of my best friends, George Brown, who ironically I watched, who's the pitching coach at St. John's, who I watched in your video yesterday talk about his book club with his pitchers. So kudos to him in helping us with that idea. The goal wasn't to help the individual pitcher be better on the mound directly, in my opinion. Although some lessons did spill over into their mental game as a competitor, our goal with it was to give each member of the group ownership in our culture, getting them to create some dialogue over a certain concept in a book or a chapter in our group chat, over the summer when we're not in person, or in a 5-minute pitchers meeting before practice about what they read. This promoted internal accountability about our standards and how important sticking to our process was. We're gonna do it again this summer. So, you got any recommendations? Anything good you're reading?
Twitter. That's what I read. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know if that's going to help much though. I think the books that I remember reading, like The Pearl and The Outsiders, right? Pony
Okay.
Boy, the books that I had to read in like 7th grade.
Those ones.
Yeah. After that, it became like ESPN the magazine. So I got nothing for you there.
Okay. That's all right. Well, if any come up, this quarantine might go on for a while. If any come up, I'm just a text away.
Yeah, I doubt seriously I'll be able to contribute in that area for you.
I'm serious though. I think that getting ideas is important because I want this to be fun for them. I want them to enjoy it. You have to have them enjoy the book, and it has to be entertaining. So the books that we choose, they can't be dry. They have to like to do it, and we try to space it out so it gives them time. Because if you tell a kid to read a book in 10 days, they're probably not going to do it. And compliance-wise, we probably can't force them to read it. So I try to give them the best chance to do it together, and once they get talking about it to each other, that enforces that peer pressure of accountability to have other guys read things too.
I would think like they got their classes, they got baseball, they obviously want to have some sort of social life. They probably need to fit some sleeping in there at some point. Like,
right.
Do they enjoy this extra responsibility of kind of some more schoolwork?
I think some do and some don't. But at the end of the day, it's about our group, and it's about being selfless to a goal bigger than yourself. And we don't make them do. First of all, we don't make them do it at all because it's probably a rule violation. But we don't do it during school. It's only during non-school months. So a June book, July book, August book, and then a winter break book, and that's it. Especially with our guys, with their workload they have in class, that'd be unfair for me to ask them to do.
Gotcha. That makes more sense. Let's go into an area that I know a little bit more about other than books. In trying to teach young guys some things here, we hear the term pitchability all the time. Can you break down what that term means on a simple level for high school kids to understand?
The simplest way that I would define it is pitchability is command of at least 2 or more pitches, and the maturity to know how to use it and when to use those pitches. Um, a guy with pitchability isn't relying on pure stuff. He's not a one-dimensional guy. For example, the guys that aren't the pitchability guys are the guys with the plus heater that says, here it is, hit it. Or a guy, with a plus breaker who's going to work to get to that pitch and make you prove you can hit it. Those guys are more predictable. The pitchability guy isn't. The pitchability guy can put the fastball wherever he wants, command his off speed for a strike or for a chase, and is confident to throw any pitch in any count. He's the guy that's going to have to keep hitters off balance. And the best thing that a guy with pitchability can do is force the hitter to cover the entire plate, because that is the hardest thing about hitting, is covering the entire plate. And if you can command your fastball on both sides of the plate, you neutralize what that hitter wants to do.
And you're mentioning command a lot there. I heard that term used a bunch. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that's coming up is command versus control. What is command versus control?
Command is locating the ball in the strike zone, and control is just throwing the strike. So that box that you see on TV, throwing the ball anywhere in the box, to me, that's control. Your strikeout to walk rate, that's generally control. Being able to compete in the zone, up, down, in, out, work to the edges when you're ahead, that's command.
How can guys improve pitchability?
First of all, I think pitchability is command. So, and the average high school pitcher doesn't practice command enough.
Right. That's what I'm saying. I think a lot of it is that control, right? Like pitches are called, fastball outside. That's control, like you're talking about. That's throwing kind of to a region more so than a specific spot, right? So how do you practice that more of the command and pinpointing locations?
It's more of a like a macro approach. Like it has to be done every day in some way. We hear about the average high school pitcher and some of the stuff they're doing, and what's everybody focused on? Increasing their velocity. You can have a high leverage velocity training day and still practice executing pitches. Too often these things are mutually exclusive. Even if you have a high intent throwing day, like a long toss day with some pull downs, there's no excuse for not making your delivery and locating the ball a priority in your catch play. I also don't think the average high school pitcher throws their secondary pitches enough in catch play. Just to a standing partner at the end of catch play, take another 12 to 16 throws minimum to work on your changeup feel, spinning your breaking ball. You can't have pitchability without command of more than one pitch. You can't command your secondary pitches if you're only throwing them in your bullpens.
You only get a chance to see a guy a couple of times, though. So how can you? I mean, you could see command, right? If you can see it's there that day, but like you're recruiting a kid to come in and be there for 4 years. Like, how can you trust it? What do you see that makes you say, oh, okay, this isn't just a good day. This kid has command.
Well, it starts first of all with research. I can call the high school coach and find out the guy's numbers. So I'm going to know how many guys he's walked and how many innings. Hopefully I'm getting fed honest information. Even Perfect Game has, you can go in and find if all you're pitching in a Perfect Game event, so you do 3 events in the summer and you've logged, X amount of innings, we know you've walked this amount. But as far as what we're seeing with our eyes, what a recruiter is going to see, as far as identifying command, when you're only going to see a guy on a limited basis, especially for us at GW, because we do have a national recruiting base. It's not like we're regional and I'm going to sit on, a DC athlete, and watch them, 10 times in a summer. We're going to see guys from all over. So it's hard to get multiple appearances, in front of a coach for us. So I want to see the biggest predictor for us is in command, our athleticism and overall body control. So obviously, is he command? The first thing is this kid throwing strikes? Is he not walking guys? Is he competing in the strike zone? But then you're looking at the body, looking at the delivery. Is it athletic? What's his body control like? Sometimes you see the opposite in the video or in person when you watch a kid pitch live, because some pitchers don't know to make that a priority, or they're not coached to have that as a focus. So then the question is for the recruiter or the evaluator, is he athletic enough? Is he a good enough mover to make those body control adjustments? And that's how we have to determine command. We have to project command as well as not only see what it is empirically in front of you, but what it will be.
So they can't trick you, right? Because that's one of the things that I get is, we just have to go out there and perform on the right day at the right time. But it's not like that's all you're looking at.
Right. There's a lot more. There's a lot more that you're looking at, and it's the whole body of work of what you're seeing from the pitcher and how he moves. What is athleticism like? What athleticism is like, and so on.
So put these in order. You got to rank them 1 through 3, right? Velo, pitchability, and command. Although you said, you said that to you, pitchability is command. So I don't know if that's a good question for you. Some guys would say those are a little bit different.
Yeah, I think pitchability is command, but it does talk about having multiple pitches. Guys who have pitchability have to pitch backwards at times. There is definitely a difference, but I don't think you can really have pitchability without command. But if I were to rank those 3, I think there's a lot of variables that would help me rank a different guy. But if I were to rank them out, I would say velocity 1, then command, then pitchability. I say velocity 1 because that's the separator. But I would caution pitchers trying to get recruited who are listening to this, though, because getting recruited it's not about training for your best bolt when you're 16 years old. Projectable velocity can be as valuable, if not more valuable at times, than actual velocity. It's about competing and getting better the right way. Focusing on velocity and velocity only can be a detriment. Your focus in recruiting should be your game as a whole on getting better, on improving your strength and athleticism and your delivery, being consistent, not just throwing harder, because throwing harder doesn't automatically mean getting better. So when I rank those, velocity has an asterisk to it because you need to have it, right? Or you need to be able to pitch extremely effectively without it, plus deception, high level command, some kind of spin rate, some kind of movement that maybe that 85 or 87, it plays different than a 90 or a 91 because of how you use it, because of maybe you get down the mound better. Maybe it's there's a lot of different factors that can make velocity different. Not everybody's 88 is 88. But there's also the velocity projection component, which is huge in recruiting, because
right,
throwing you
this whole thing is based off projections, right? I mean,
so if the velocity is not there, but we project it, then that's as important as anything. And then the command and pitchability, they're maybe a little more teachable than the velocity can be. And then the velocity can be teachable depending on the body, depending on how the young man moves. The velocity can be teachable depending on, hey, is this an athletic frame that when he adds strength, it's going to translate to the baseball? Because some guys adding strength doesn't always translate. The amount of times I hear a travel coach call me about a kid, and I think even earlier today, I got a message from a coach saying, he's 84, 86 right now, but I can see him, by the summertime being up to 88, 89. And it's like, we don't know that. I need to see what he looks like first, because not every body is going to have a linear development path towards a higher velocity. It's just not.
You're also the recruiting coordinator, so you're taking a look at hitters as well. One of the questions that I've gotten is, why are pitchers' metrics more indicative of what they're going to become as opposed to a hitter's metric? So, for example, fastball velocity is something you will lean on more than exit velocity.
Of course.
Right? Why is that?
The biggest difference is that when you watch a pitcher throw 90 miles per hour, I think the best way to talk about this is possibly maybe getting a recruiting video. Because when we're out recruiting, we're not really getting exit velos off the gun when I'm at a game. I'm getting velocities from the pitcher. So let's say we're using video, or somebody sent us a video, a pitcher and a hitter. The pitcher that throws 90 miles per hour in the video, you also see his delivery, his arm action, his balance, his posture, all things that he is in full control of that lead to pitch execution, which is the name of the game for a pitcher. You have to be able to execute pitches. If it's not very clean, we have to make the determination of whether or not it's fixable. But with a hitter, you're only seeing him swing against maybe a batting practice arm or off a tee usually. The elements of what makes that guy a good hitter, his aptitude, his adjustability, his vision, his timing, etc., are all things that are a complete wild card until you see him in person. And sometimes you've got to sit on a dozen or more at bats to make that determination. Watching the radar gun pop up in the video with the guy hitting the cage tells us what his bat speed and leverage looks like, but it doesn't tell us if he can hit.
Have you ever been to a game and you're recruiting, two guys are playing against each other, one's the pitcher, one is the hitter, and they're going up against each other?
Absolutely.
And so who are you rooting for in that situation? What do you want to see? What would be the best outcome in that situation to where you're like, okay, I'm happy with both guys?
I would say a long at bat where both guys really competed their tails off. And I'm the pitching coach, so I'd say maybe a fly out. Maybe a fly out where a guy just got beat on the barrel a little bit and got his swing off. But yeah, I would say a good battle, maybe a 9-10 pitch at bat. Maybe a sac fly. We'll call it a sac fly.
Okay, I like it. A long at bat. I didn't think of that. That is good.
Well, we want to see him. We want to see him compete. If they're guys that we're on, then show me you're willing to grind something out.
Right, that makes sense. Coach, good stuff today. A lot of really good information crammed in to hear. So I appreciate you coming on, talking some baseball, and teaching us something.
Well, I appreciate it too. I've been able to hopefully get better just by watching other guys' videos. You've had some really good ones on here. I'm honored to be a part of this and look forward to seeing some more stuff from the channel.